You can stand right here too.
Okay, perfect.
With my coat out the way.
Watch, you're gonna have to balance through that, so why don't you come up here? Phone's off?
I gotta grab that phone real quick. For some reason, I don't think it went on.
Do you need my cable?
No, I just got to turn it off. Back on.
We'll open it up for questions at the end. Kevin, you ready?
Yep.
Tell me when. Good morning, Chris Swanson, the Sheriff of Genesee County. Thank you to the media that have come back yet again for another update, reference our missing friend, Kelly McWhirter. We have worked with the family personally, and so when I say what I'm about to say, they are aware of this, but it is the truth of where we are right now. Although every case like this, we start investigating it as it is the highest crime, and that is where we are today. This is no longer a rescue. This is a recovery. This is a homicide investigation, and our suspect is dead. We don't have any information that would lead us to believe, although we do keep that as an option, that anybody else was involved in the abduction and assault of Kelly McWhirter. But we believe, and we are continuing our investigation to show that Stephen Higgins is responsible for this act. When he was identified by that courageous individual in Saginaw County at 3 o'clock in the morning, when the vehicle description had been put out by the media just the night before, and she called 911, and we found where he was with the help of the Parks Division, Montrose, Cloud City, and the Sheriff's Office. After a few minutes of engagement, no conversation, Higgins took his life, shot himself in the head. He has not left any notes, hadn't made any statements. And we have a case now where we have a very dear friend, a former employee that retired and was rehired back at the Board of Commissioners, who's missing. And we have the one person who knows that, that he's responsible, unable to communicate. So where do we go from here? Well, there's a lot of things that we do, and I'm going to explain some of those, because to be unclear is to be unkind, and that's why I'm giving these updates. We have all vehicles involved in our custody. As I mentioned, the 2022 Hyundai Tucson, that was Kelly's car, the white car, that was taken to Ohio on Saturday and Sunday, the 14th and 15th of October. That was in custody when we first got this information in Monday of this week. We had no idea that he drove it down to Ohio and back. We also have the 2009 Ford F-150 that I explained had those chrome roll bar running boards. That's in custody. That's the vehicle that he was in when he shot himself. We have the house that we believe this happened into. We had our full investigative crime scene team there. We've swept the house. We've taken all the evidence. Clearly, our investigation shows that he tried to clean the house and sanitize the house, but you cannot sanitize what we can find. And we were able to capture a significant amount of DNA, blood loss, as well as other things used to try to clean up the scene. We also know that in the back of that 2023 Hyundai that there's a significant amount of blood. And I know these details are grim, but I say this because this case has had such an impact, and it has such an impact on the dangers and the escalation of domestic violence. And Kelly's life and what she's done and how she's made an impact in people throughout her whole life deserves the honor of being a champion for domestic violence victims. And so when we say these facts and we hold somebody accountable for it, should that change, we'll pivot. But nothing indicates it's anybody but Stephen Higgins. Since we started this investigation, and we have committed every asset we possibly can, I'm going to give you some updates as to where we are in those different connections. We do know that over the weekend, she last spoke to someone on Saturday the 14th. On the 14th into the 15th, Higgins drove that white vehicle down to Norwalk, Ohio. We immediately worked with them. We've talked to them, and we've worked with the police department, the FBI, the Ohio State Patrol. We've brought that individual in, interviewed him for 8 hours. He met Higgins in prison when they were together, had never met Kelly, didn't know her name. We have no indications as of right now that he has any information that is helpful in this case. He was just a point where he was made. What we also found out by using different technology is that Higgins on the way back went down 75 on Saturday, came up 23 on Sunday. Now, both of them lead to Ohio, but what we found interesting was there's a truck stop on US 223 called Big Daddy's Truck Stop, and he stopped there for 7 minutes in Monroe County. I've worked with Sheriff Troy Goodenough in Monroe County. We have his team working with any sites that may have been notified or identified by his people that he could have stopped. He did not get out of his vehicle to go in the store for those 7 minutes, but we do know that he was in that parking lot for 7 minutes. We had detectives down there yesterday pulling the video, and so that identifies that there were stops. There's other paths of travel. People have asked about Google. They've asked, all that is being done. Every vehicle that we have involved has a some type of either a crash data reporter that tracks different types of movements and stoppings. We've got info centers that are in that 2009 Ford. We have our auto theft team working with the experts when it comes to retrieving that data. It was half ripped out. We also have multiple search warrants that have been executed, 7 total. We have 5 more pending. These search warrants are for phone records, for Google records, for records that are online shopping. Why is that important? Because when we did a search warrant for that 2009 Ford F-150, we found in the back of that vehicle through a search warrant multiple landscape tools, shovels, flat shovels. There's fresh dirt on the end of them, and that led us to what we found inside. And again, this is heavy, I understand, but there was a body bag inside that truck. There clearly wasn't a body, but there was significant blood, and there was other contaminants in that body bag that that we are using to track not only DNA, but also the sources. Somebody may ask, how do you get a body bag? Anybody can get one. You can get it from online shopping, but clearly that was the indication that with the scene trauma, the vehicle trauma, and what we found in that truck, which is the reason why sadly we have switched our focus on, we need to find Kelly. And the person who we believe is responsible for it took his own life and didn't provide any information. This is a case that's very unusual because many times we have a body and we have a whodunit or we can't find the suspect. In this case, we have the opposite. It's not only a very difficult case, but it's a case that we want to get answers to, and the people that know those answers are unable to provide. But this office is not going to stop. I want to assure the family, the friends, we are not going to stop. I don't care how long it takes. I don't care where we have to go. The crime scene is from Saginaw County to Ohio and everything in between. The public has already shown how valuable they are in identifying where Higgins was. We need the same thing. If you've got ring camera footage, if you've got surveillance footage, if any time during the days of October 13th to October 18th that you saw either a 2022 white Hyundai Tucson that had that hatchback that has that little insignia on the back, if you've seen that at any place that you thought was suspicious, just make a phone call to 911. Even if it's outside Genesee County, this story has gotten so large and so much attention that they will forward it to us. We know that that was the vehicle that Higgins drove to Ohio. Now, where Kelly was, I don't know the answer to that. But also that 2009 Ford F-150, that could have made a stop. We do know that inside that vehicle there was significant survival equipment, tents, waterproof matches, ropes, all these things that would have caused one to believe that you could survive on the outside. Higgins fished a lot and traveled a lot. He was a nomad. And so it could be anywhere. It could be on the side road. He could have gotten off on an exit. Who knows? But that's where you come in. If you've seen it, if you thought of something, you thought this vehicle in the back of a restaurant was odd on a Sunday afternoon or on Monday, just call. We'll put the pieces together, and that is significant. We've done forensic searches of not only house, but also canvassed the neighborhood, search warrants on all vehicles, cell phones. How did we get the cell phones? Well, because of our friends at the FBI, we were able to expedite search warrants to different carriers. Each person who has a cell phone, through doing a little digging, we can find who your carrier is, and then they work on what's called exigent circumstances. Because of the circumstances dealing with the person, they give us that data quickly. And what we found is these cell phones were at a particular location. in Montrose on Lake Road. We found those on Tuesday. And the cell phone to Higgins was broken and tossed into a ditch. And Kelly's phone was across the street on Lake Road, also broken and not operable. But we were able to use that cell phone data, and that's how we tracked to the Ohio. So both phones are recovered. We cannot find her keys to her white Hyundai. These are the things that we believe happened in the aggression of the moment, where someone breaks phones and tosses them, thinking they won't be found. But because of good police work, we were able to find both of those phones. Search warrants have been downloaded for those. Again, Google data. When your phones and you travel, you hit off towers and pings. That's called the IEMI. These are different types of signals from the actual device to the towers. We track that. Search warrants for all sorts of evidence on the body, nail clippings, blood, to track how he was involved with the blood loss at the house, the car, and in his truck. Also, I want to say thank you to all the agencies and the volunteers. As of today, we've searched over 150 acres on foot. Our canine friends and the canines that have been volunteered, even from the animal control, they have gone up and down the rivers and up and down. Those canines have searched over 75 additional acres. We have drones that are flying in Chris Cawson, our drone technology here under Lieutenant Priest, Lieutenant Wattoon. We fly drones at a low altitude and a low speed. We've done over 20 hours of drone flight, back and forth, gridding. We're working with the Michigan State Police Crime Lab. The soil that's on those shovels, many times based on geography, you can track what kind of soil is in what part of this community. So those tools that are in the back of that truck, Lieutenant Nicholson, who's one of the field commanders, has worked with that and worked with the crime lab to find out where we might be able to target that particular type of soil. Monitoring all bank records, cracking credit cards, anything that would show a purchase. Higgins was the kind of guy that was very premeditated, but also very reckless. And we're hoping to cash in on the reckless part of him. We do know that all the things that are happening, all the leads that are coming in, we're following up on every one of them. And again, you may not think it's a big deal, but we actually make everything a big deal. And we will have a whole team assigned to all these leads coming in. Should you have something, please don't leave a direct message on this or any social media, because we get, no joke, thousands of a day. You need to call 911, please, or 810-257-3422. 810-257-3422. These are the things that make it easier for you to just, hey, I want you to look into this. Again, tips that you feel are important, but also tips that we could follow up on that may lead to a different outcome. There's a few things I want to do right now before we answer questions, and that is, while we're aggressively interviewing and doing our investigation, it's no surprise that Kelly has made an impact on the people that she worked with for over 20 years here at the Sheriff's Office and the Board of Commissioners. It was described, and you're going to meet her in a minute, Chairwoman Ellen Ellenberg of the board. Kelly was a fighter. She fought to the end. She fought whatever argument she's expressing. She was quick-witted, and she's certainly one who deserves the best of this office. It's our honor to do what we do as a profession, but we're also going to remember who Kelly is, and we're going to continue to find where she is. And we have a place for people to grieve. And so tomorrow, which is the 20th of October at 10 a.m. right here at the front of the Sheriff's Office, it doesn't matter the weather, we have worked with the County Board of Commissioners and many of Kelly's friends and family to have a time where people can come and share and grieve and just bond. I mean, so you need the healing. At the same time, we need our investigation to continue. So again, that's tomorrow, which is Friday at 10 a.m. right here at the Sheriff's Office. Feel free to come if Kelly's made an impact on you in any way. We're not going to talk about the case. It's a time for healing. But then that's for the healing side, her fellow administrative assistants and all the lives that she's impacted for over 20 years. And she just almost hit her 5-year at the Board of Commissioners. We're going to talk about that in a second, but I'm going to open it up, bring up Lieutenant Nicholson, who's the field commander, to answer whatever questions you may have. I wouldn't normally go into all these case facts if we had an active suspect that we're on the hunt for. But again, Higgins is our focus, and should something happen and change that, which I don't expect could, but we're always keeping that door open. James, Channel 5.
Yep. I don't want this to sound like a Captain Obvious type of question, but is there any chance that Kelly is alive? And if not, why not?
Well, there's always a chance, and but the question is there a chance she's alive, and why or why not? You have to look at the obvious, and even we have to come to grips. We treated this as a suspicious situation, possible homicide from the get-go. And, I use this analogy. When we have somebody who goes into the water and is believed to have drowned, we always treat it as a rescue. But after time and evidence and distance, it becomes a recovery. And it is a point where we have to look at that. We always keep that opportunity open, but the probability is low. We've not had any contact with Kelly since Saturday. Our focus is going to continue on the path of recovery, knowing that something could happen, but it's not likely based on all the evidence, the blood loss, the amount of trauma that took place, the time and distance. It's not probable.
So we said they're married. Were they exes and still living together, or were they completely married, still on books?
Yes, they were married, and again, I did not have any personal contact with her personal life, but they had gotten a divorce. There's two different names, but she'd been with him for some time, over 20 years.
Now, the officers who did see that death yesterday, are they on leave right now?
So this is what they do. The question is, are those that saw that death and witnessed the self-inflicted gunshot wound on leave? They are not. They're working as we speak. They did a phenomenal job on maintaining their demeanor, their decorum. They gave verbal commands, and I may release that video in the future. But we were specific on how we did it, and he gave no indication that he had any intentions on helping us. Lieutenant, as a detective in command on the ground level, what is today's mission, and what are we doing as we speak?
Well, we're writing additional search warrants today. In fact, we're writing 5 of them. We're going to start looking at financial accounts, tracking money, figuring out where money's been spent. In addition to that, we've got 2 teams out right now searching multiple areas. We've got drones in the air. We've got access to dogs. At some point, when we narrow the search down more, we're going to get cadaver dogs or something of that nature to help us out.
When you say you're searching an area, how do you pick what area to search?
So these areas conveniently came through on tips that we've already received. So somebody's already called in, said, hey, I've seen this truck or this car in this area, and we're physically going out, putting a drone in the air, putting boots on the ground, and we're checking it.
I think it's important to realize that, as you come up with something, even if you don't think it's something that is obvious, just bring it to us. And that's why I think when he mentioned the tips, that's how we found these locations. So keep that coming. Your team's doing a phenomenal job. I want to thank and credit Captain Murphy, Captain Kennemer, the entire investigative division, Sergeant Leonowitz, who's part of your team, all the DB, all the tech that is going back and forth. We have one more question, and then I want to talk about tomorrow and also about domestic violence. Go ahead, James, Channel 5.
Can you tell us where you're searching?
I'll give you one location. We're searching the area of Nichols and Corona right now. We got a tip that the truck was parked there, and we've actually got a drone in the air checking the cornfields right now.
And it may be a question people have about volunteers, if they want to help, and some people just want to do something. What message do we have for people that want to help?
I mean, honestly, we appreciate all the help we can get. Right now, I think we're at a point that I think we need everybody to check their surveillance systems. We need to dial in where we can see this vehicle, where we can see the truck, and pinpoint a smaller location. And then maybe I think it's feasible we get a group of people together, and then volunteers, everybody, and we go search that area.
And I want you to know that, this organization of people, you may see something just by doing your everyday duties. Maybe you're hunting or going for a walk. If you see something that's unusual, undisturbed ground, clearly that's our focus now. 2 tracks going back where they shouldn't be. Just call 911. You don't need to do any more investigation. That could be a piece of the puzzle that we're talking about. But you need to go, and if you would, be aggressive on your ring cams on those dates, the 13th through the 18th. See if there's something, and then let us follow up with it. Thank you, Lieutenant.
Thank you.
Commissioner Ellenberg, we had talked off camera, and we talked about what Kelly meant to you and to your fellow commissioners and what tomorrow is, but also about domestic violence. Would you close us out? I have a couple things to follow up, and then we'll be done.
Well, you know, Kelly worked with us for like 5 years, and I got to know her because she worked in our office as our secretary. Very precise, very determined, and she never really talked about her home life, but she did talk about her kids and her grandkids. And so, you know, domestic violence should not have happened to her because she was kind-hearted. She might have been tough on the exterior, but she had a big heart, and she wanted to help people. And this just really upsets me that somebody caught her by surprise, and I really believe that that happened because I think she would have fought to her fullest to be able to survive something like this, and hopefully she has. So my heart goes out to her family, goes out to her grandkids, and everybody at the county is grieving over this horrible domestic violence situation. And if anybody else is suffering from this, there's help out there. You know, reach out to the sheriff's office, reach out for our agencies that can help you, because there is strong people that will help you.
I think it's important to know, too, as people that are around others, that they love to ask questions, but not everybody's going to feel comfortable coming forward. And domestic violence, I was in an event in Dearborn in Metro Detroit yesterday, and in both places the story has gotten so much attention that I had multiple people come up and talk about 8 out of 10 relationships involve some type of domestic violence, some type of emotional violence, and it's not always easier for the victims to come and say, hey, I need help. They're scared. They don't think people are going to believe them. But if you recognize something, maybe just like in our human trafficking, maybe just a couple questions, hey, can I help? Is there anything going on? Sometimes people are very private. You know, Higgins went out like a coward, and he treated her like a coward. And if somebody's out there and they are responsible for emotional abuse and physical abuse and psychological abuse, that's cowardly. And nobody has a right to be dominant and disrespectful and degrading people, and especially in any kind of domestic situation. So it requires all parties, the potential recipient, the one who's perpetrating it, but definitely those that are around and love. And I'm going to tell you, we're going to expand our reach when it comes to helping with domestic violence, that the real victims are among us, and we're going to give them the hope. We're going to allow Kelly to be a great voice for that.
Well, I appreciate it,
Yeah.
and so does the county.
Well, there's a lot more to do, and again, I appreciate our media friends. Thank you for using your platform, and we'll give updates when appropriate. Thank you for coming.